Sorry for that. Okay, again, sorry for that. So today, as we gather at a time when the IGAD region is experiencing some of the most dramatic climatic extremes on the continent, historic droughts, devastating floods, and rapidly shifting weather patterns, it no longer follows the seasons of our communities, the ones that we once knew. But even in the midst of this uncertainty, certain forces stand out. Our youth, women in media, the scientists, and media practitioners. These are the people who are innovating, communicating, warning communities, and mobilizing the same communities when it matters the most. So today, conversation is about the intersection of how youth, media, and climate action can come together to build an early warning ecosystem that is fast, trusted, local, and inclusive. So what is working? We're here to find out what is working, what is still missing, and how do we co-create these solutions so that climate information doesn't just exist, but reaches to the right people at the right time and in the right way. So without further communication about this, we are privileged today to be joined by not only journalists who are driving change on the ground, but also seasoned experts who have journeyed with communicators, media professionals, and many more in the climate space and communities, leaving no one behind. Their experiences bring a unique and powerful blend on today's panel. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce our panelists for today's session. I will begin with Dr. Ahmed Amdihun. A round of applause as he approaches. He is the head of the IGAD Disaster Risk Management at IGAD's Climate Prediction and Application Center, that's ICPAC. He leads the IGAD Disaster Risk Management Program and oversees the Multi-Hazard Situation Room, enhancing disaster preparedness through early warning systems and early action. His work focuses on climate resilience, disaster risk reduction, and providing technical and policy advice to IGAD and its member states. With over 14 years' experience, Dr. Amdihun has expertise in climate resilience, disaster risk reduction, environmental systems modeling, and spatial planning. We'll find out more as we go on during the panel discussions. So he has held key roles at the UN, Addis Ababa University as the assistant professor, and the International Water Management Institute, Livestock Research Institute, and serves on the technical advisory group for initiatives like IPC, the Cruise and Anticipation Hub, as well as the World Meteorological Organization. Thank you very much. Now you can tell we have experts on ground. So the next one that I wish to call aboard, that is Dr. Getachew Dinku. I know the time is not on your side, but we'll try and keep up with the time. So a round of applause as he approaches. So he is currently the assistant professor. Can we have a better round of applause for that kindly? Thank you. So he is the current assistant professor in the School of Journalism and Communication at Addis Ababa University. And he got his PhD in communication studies in 2014 from the University of Nebraska, Lincoln. He has over 20 years of experience in education, development, communication, public relations, media policy, media law, and media regulation. So, aside from serving in international and local NGOs in different capacities, he has worked for various offices of the Ethiopian government to start with. Most notably, he served the Ethiopian Media Authority, formerly Ethiopian Broadcast Authority, as the Director General from April 2019 to March 2021, where he led multiple media development initiatives, partnerships, and institutional development activities. His research interests include rhetoric and public culture, communication for development, media and democracy, media regulation, among others. Our next panelists, allow me to introduce Mrs. Judith Akolo, who's a powerhouse in Kenya media fraternity. She's a household name. She is a dynamic development journalist with the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation and a climate change scholar with strong expertise in climate reporting. Round of applause, please. She is known for translating climate science into compelling stories that enhance public awareness and inform policy across the Greater Horn of Africa. Judith serves as the deputy chairperson of both KEN-SJA and NEC JOCA, and has trained journalists on environmental health and climate adaptation and reporting. She has moderated as well high-level public events and is pursuing currently a master's in climate change adaptation at the University of Nairobi. And that should at least tell you that also journalists can also take any other courses, not just journalism as well. So allow me to introduce again Mr. Ahmed Absi. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. He is a Somali journalist and he's one of a kind. He is an environmental advocate and founder of the Green Media Initiative, Somalia's leading media platform advancing environmental awareness, climate education, and climate action. He is recognized for producing impactful climate stories, driving public policy, and strengthening media capacity nationwide. His work amplifies underreported voices and promotes a greener, more sustainable future. And if you follow his pages, you'll be able to see he's quite an active guy by promoting even youth involvement. So our last, but not the least, we will have Mr. Hinok Kinde. He is a young professional working at the African Union Commission, supporting digital systems and institutional coordination within the MIS department. He also serves as the regional director for the AFCFTA, National Youth Championship Fellowship Program, leading youth engagement and capacity, as well as he is the winner for this year's IGAD's Youth Climate Action Award in 2025. Another round of applause for the entire panelists. I need a heavier one, please. Thank you. So I'll be your moderator for this session. My name is Linda Macau. I'm the Executive Director for Africa Climate Change Communicators. I do science communication as well as public policy advocacy and many more. So before I sit, I'd also like to recognize part of the ICPAC staff who also came with us, Miss Emily there. Also, we have Kip, who handles communications. On my far left, you can wave, and also Ibrahim. Okay, so as they check on the microphones, maybe it will be a bit crucial to have yeah, I don't know. Hello. Oh, I think it's okay now.
Hello.
Okay, so sorry again about that. So we're going to go ahead and have these discussions connecting youth, climate change, early warning systems. So as we're having these panel discussions, have in mind how we can best communicate early warning and how we can save communities. Remember, this is actually for saving lives and livelihoods. So we're going to set the scene and we're going to start with Dr. Ahmed, understanding the role of ICPAC. Who is ICPAC? So Dr. Ahmed. So briefly take us through the early warning process, kindly. And on that note, ICPAC, it does play a critical role in the provision of early warning information. So how will you highlight the major achievements and positive, actually, because of all I know, most of them are actually positive, and actually the strengths of ICPAC's early warning and climate services today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda. Good afternoon, colleagues. Can I get a response? Good afternoon. Thank you very much. It's indeed a pleasure, colleagues, to talk about youth, media, and climate action. I think if you have heard it well in the morning during the opening, IGAD was established to address drought and desertification. That's very, very important and profound in terms of where we are gearing this region towards. I think in 1980s, over 1 million people died due to drought. Okay, and that has created a lot of initiatives in the region, which was quite profound, again, in showing a collective action where countries come together and establish a regional body. That by itself is, I think, one great achievement. From the regional center, ICPAC, colleagues, we monitor drought, floods, and major hazards in the region, actually. Maybe from our situation room, if Edwin can flash that, IGAD has actually a dedicated situation room to monitor the region, at least for 8 hours a day. So we look into different indicators and see what exactly is changing in the region. I think during the previous panel, I think someone has mentioned, but as we speak, colleagues, there is an ongoing significant reduction in rainfall. Still, we don't call it drought, okay, in parts of Somalia, Ethiopia, and Kenya. We are closely monitoring. If it escalates into something serious, we are going to raise an alarm. We did it actually all across our history of 30 or plus years. So IGAD is actually very much monitoring from its climate center in Nairobi, looking at just not drought, but also pests. Whatever is happening in the region, even the volcano which erupted in northern Ethiopia, IGAD was closely monitoring actually, and we issued a few of clarifications for the media, particularly in the transboundary impacts of such events. As we speak, our colleagues are also colleagues in parts of Uganda and Kenya, where they are engaging in multi-hazard, multi-stakeholder platforms, which is quite important for IGAD. As countries manage within their borders, no one talks about the transboundary risks. I think you have heard about floods in Somalia, for example. Do you know that it is primarily occur because of the rains in the highlands of Ethiopia? So unless you bring in countries together, deal and discuss transboundary issues, I think disasters or climate crisis will not stop in our borders. This realization actually makes a case for IGAD and its climate center in Nairobi to make sure that we monitor, we issue warnings, as Linda was asking me, we issue warnings and we follow up on the actions as well. All our member states, especially the disaster risk management authorities, are actually just a call away for us, or a WhatsApp group away, to make sure that something is going on and we alert them for early action. One maybe other important aspect to mention, colleagues, is the media, the youth, actually are at the heart of this whole process. If you see the 4 pillars of early warning, the 3rd pillar is dissemination and communication. No matter advanced the science is, our forecast is, and so on and so forth, unless it reaches the communities and unless it's acted upon, it's as good as nothing. So I think that's very, very important. So this session particularly, I'm just setting a scene, is quite essential in terms of the 4 pillars of early warning, from understanding risk knowledge, the forecast that ICPAC issues. One important thing which I would like to mention, colleagues, is IGAD is actually the lead in Eastern Africa in issuing seasonal forecasts. no other institution do for this part of the world. We are the one forecasting for the coming season. Maybe for March, April, May next year, we will be issuing in January. For the current season, it was issued in August. I think if you have followed that one, we are embracing, or we are bracing for drought. As was forecasted, I think that's exactly what's happening. Even I can tell you that January, February, it's going to deteriorate again. We issued that one as well as a warning. Just imagine one season almost failing. If March, April, May again fails, that means we are back to again a drought situation. You remember just 2 years ago, almost 10 million livestock perish in Kenya, Ethiopia, and Somalia, in these 3 regions. 10 million livestock. I think IGAD is very proud to say that we have at least avoided, mitigated the loss of life, human life, but still we have to advance that to protecting the livelihoods and livelihood assets like the livestock. So I think that is where the discussions are, colleagues, but I invite you also to look at our platforms, the East African Hazard Watch. If you Google, you'll find a brilliant state-of-the-art multi-hazard monitoring and forecasting system, which informs just not member states, but also key development and humanitarian partners. So ICPAC issues seasonal forecast, which is widely used, okay? But this, as I said, is not enough. The media are the critical actors, the critical elements of this value chain. Once the forecast is produced from ICPAC, it has to reach the last mile, communities. By the way, one thing we usually underestimate is the power of communities. They are the first responders, by the way. Communities are the first responders, with or without capacity. Whatever they have, they are the first to respond. Like in Afar, the volcano. Who was sending us those videos and pictures? Communities, right? So they are the first responders, and they need to be supported with appropriate information. Sometimes the history of drought in this region, colleagues, is the history of actually looking at it as a bigger problem, not just an isolated, small shortage of water or pasture. Sometimes it is widespread, which is beyond the capacity of our communities. That's where IGAD would like to raise alarm, like we did in 2022, where we convene ministers, actually, followed by heads of state, to make sure that action is taken now, or the situation would escalate. Thankfully, I think most of the countries have taken that seriously, and the devastating impact have been reduced to some extent. But still, we need to do more along this line. Finally, once the early warning informations are there, colleagues, the early action bit is, I think, the other most important pillar. Just 2 weeks ago, we launched the South Sudan roadmap for anticipatory action. Again, a week ago in Somalia, we launched the national roadmap for anticipatory action. We want to make sure that governments are committed to take action when we show the red flag. Drought is coming, so governments need to take action. So that document is going to be a guarantee. We cannot take just for granted. We issue, we disseminate information, action is taken. That has never worked, colleagues. It must happen by design. It cannot happen by default. So I think that's very, very important. And I conclude, Linda, but ICPAC is there to monitor and also disseminate information. Of course, with use, of course, with media. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed, for those valuable insights. Yeah, you did mention that the communities are the first responders, which is very true. And I'm keen to also observe that ICPAC actually focuses on even map reading, training communities on map reading, which is very critical, which means you too can be trained on map reading. So it's not something that you see science and then you just shy away. So thank you so much once again for those valuable insights. And you did mention something about it doesn't stop at the borders. And I want to bring in this critical aspect of bridging academia and media, Dr. Getachew. So you do sit at the intersection of academia and media, right? So what strengths have you observed in how journalists communicate early warning information in our society today? And are there any gaps that you have foreseen?
How about now?
Yeah.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, organizers and moderator, for the opportunity. I'm happy to be on this panel. definitely they use academia, the media, and the scientific community that generate climate change-related information. They all need to come together and work very closely to one another if there is any meaningful change to be brought about in terms of informing societies, in terms of alerting them in time by providing them with credible quality information, and then also urging them, building on what Dr. Ahmed has been saying, the third pillar is related to information dissemination and communication. It's one thing to disseminate information, it's another thing to communicate effectively, right? So the fact that you disseminate information doesn't necessarily guarantee that people get it right, understand it well, and then respond accordingly. It has to be, the information that we disseminate needs to be appropriate to the situations of people, culturally appropriate. In terms of complexity, simplicity of the information, it needs to be appropriate. Scientists are good at generating knowledge, sophisticated body of knowledge, but they are not as good when it comes to communicating the knowledge they generate to the general public. There is a science of communicating science. And then when it comes to communicating science, it is the media and professionals of communication who are the scientists, right? So it's very important that the two bodies come together. And then I see the role of the youth in here, because increasingly the communication landscape is changing. The communication technology has brought about significant change in how we communicate, and on also the nature of platforms. And the basic rule of communication is, if you want to send your messages across, go to where the audiences are. And then most of the youth, they are today on the digital media. So it's important that we engage the digital media meaningfully, and then the youth are skilled. It's their thing, and they are there. They know how to make effective use of the digital media. So it's important we don't stick to the traditional legacy media. Of course, we do need the journalists working on the traditional media, because they are also experts in verifying information, in making sure the information is properly collected, synthesized, and then also sent across in the right manner. If you look at the way scientists generate knowledge, they collect data, analyze it, interpret it, and come up with findings. But it's the journalists who present the findings of studies, scientific studies, in a way that is understandable to the society. And then the media are here to serve society. In journalism schools, we ask questions, and also journalism scholars raise this question: what are the media for? And what is journalism for at the end of the day? They justify their existence by being relevant to the society. And how will they be relevant to the society? By providing society with information that saves lives, right? I can share you a story. When I was a student overseas, one day I was driving in the city, and I received a text message from the university central office saying that there is active shooting on so-and-so street, and then it's better that you stay away from that street. So I was driving, as I told you, I had to change my way, and then made sure that I stayed away from that street. And I really appreciated the information I received from the university. I thought they care for me. And then when society receives information that matters, they would appreciate it significantly, hugely, because it's about their livelihood, their life. The information might mean the one that makes difference between life and death. It's not a luxury thing. So climate change information, lately in the IGAD member nations, and more I know is about what is happening in Ethiopia and what has been, very encouraging trends towards increased interest in covering climate issues and providing information, different platforms, including the digital ones, and credits also to research institutions and institutions like IGAD, ICPAC, and specialized science centers. And they constantly train journalists, and then the journalists start to develop interests in covering climate issues. Mind you, in J schools, journalism schools, we usually, in most African countries that is the case, we usually train generalist journalists. They are not specialized in covering climate issues, in science and technology issues, in other specialized areas. So it's very important that they get additional training by experts, or expert organizations on important issues as climate. So as a result, in the past, in Ethiopia, for example, I remember we had an association of journalists covering environment issues, right? Environmental Journalists Association. I don't know if they exist anymore. The challenge with those kinds of associations, they come together, they do good job at one time, but they disappear kind of. It's on and off type of, but these things need continuous engagement, continuous focus, because as has been clearly indicated, we are climate change affected region. We are prone to drought and other natural disasters. So it's important what we stay alert every time, So we need to stay focused when it comes to climate issues. And then I think journalism schools, they have a long way to go in terms of equipping young journalists with the necessary knowledge. I know lately we've been offering courses in development journalism, development communication, in which climate and climate-related things are one focus area, but I don't honestly believe we've been training them enough. We tend to focus more on political issues and current affairs, and then not on issues of development that sustain, that stay with us, with the amount of attention that it requires, with the significance that it takes to bring about any meaningful change. So to wind up my first round of talk, it takes a concerted effort of all stakeholders. Dr. Ahmed rightly put it, it's a multi-stakeholder response is required. And then the media are one of the significant stakeholders, and they have a huge role to play. If I cite as an example the response during the COVID-19 pandemic, it was really good. The media in the region and in Ethiopia and globally, they did a very good job in alerting societies, and then more lives could have been lost as a result of the pandemic. Can you imagine the amount of lives, the timely dissemination of credible, authentic information could be able to save? And that's what happens with the climate and flood and drought-related information. This is the kind of change that it will bring about, so let's stay focused. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor, for that.
Thank you for those insights. And I do agree with you for sure that it's more of a symbiotic relationship. One cannot do without the other. The scientists need the communicator needs the scientist. We also need the community. Otherwise, how do we go do this research? How will we inform policies even on the higher level? So again, we do have that gap in terms of tutorship. Not everyone, and I think IGPAC is doing a really good job with training people like me, being one of the alumni. I didn't know anything about early warning. It's until I was called for that meeting and I'm like, wait, there's something called like this, so you can actually warn communities before disaster happens. Which brings me to the question, Judith, being a journalist, right? You are a senior journalist. How has working with organizations such as IGPAC promoted storytelling, and how has it packaged this early warning to communicate to communities inaccuracy? How has it promoted such stories?
Thank you, Linda.
And sorry, let me just cut you short. I made to understand that we have very limited time because of a government event. So you're limited to only like 2 minutes. Yes, sort of. Wait, no, as per person, like very less minutes, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't know why we're being rushed, but it's okay. We'll do the 2 minutes. Being a broadcaster, I'll fit in it. First of all, just an advice to fellow journalists. Reporting climate should not be reporting in a microwave form. That today you go get this information and tomorrow, today you're already reporting on it. You need to research. You need to get the right information so that when you're reporting something that people can actually relate to. And that is what storytelling is about. Get the narrative into place, break down the complexities, make sure that the data is something that people can actually chew on and understand what you're actually relaying to them. Now, how has the media worked with IGPAC? The media started working with IGPAC when it was still the Drought Monitoring Center in Nairobi. At that time is when the climate scientists realized that they cannot do much without working with the media. And that is how they helped us to create NECJOGA. That is the network of climate journalists in the Greater Horn of Africa. And just to answer the professor, the problem is that when such organizations start, the mind behind it, or for instance, IGPAC may not have all the resources to train all the journalists. So since IGPAC is the one that has come up with the idea, it would be good for other organizations to also support IGPAC in training journalists, because at the end of the day, when the journalists are better informed, when they are able to communicate well, all of them will benefit. The whole society will benefit. The organizations will benefit in such a way that the information they're generating is actually helping society. So that kind of help is very important, it's very needed. So mine is just to ensure that let us try our best as journalists to stay the course. Let's avoid the issue where we are reporting according to the prediction. You know, you'll say, my mother usually plants her seed at this time of the year. Whatever the scientist is saying is not true. That is not true. Remember, the scientist is giving you a forecast. That's not a prediction. He has actually collected the data, and he knows that the weather is going to behave the way it will be. For instance, IGPAC already gave us the forecast for this particular season. And a week ago, they gave us the forecast until January. How many of us have seen it? How many of the journalists have seen that forecast? Now, that's where the disconnect is. There's so much information. That's my other point, that at IGPAC, there's a lot of information that if journalists were to get this information, you'll have stories from the first day of the year to the end of the year, and you'll not be repeating any of the stories, because they're generating a lot of information that is very important to our communities, to our societies, that the media itself is not aware of. But the media, you're not supposed to sit there and wait for them to bring you the information. look for it, search for it. Now that you are in the climate realm, you should ask yourself, how do I get this information? If you ask yourself how to get that information, you'll surely look for it. And that brings me to another point. At IGPAC, on their website, we have the hazard map. Now that hazard map is very interactive. Once you get onto it, you are able to actually know what is happening where within that particular time. And then after you get that information, at IGPAC we have climate scientists who are very ready to give you further information on what you have discovered on that particular issue that you've seen on that hazard map. For example, they already predicted the depressed rainfall in the region. How many of us reported that? Anyone who reported that? I did, but I needed to do a follow-up. Now, that information is there. Look, it's there lying, we've not reported about it, but when the livestock will start dying and people start looking for water and people start searching for pasture, we, the media, will be ready to send our reporters and the cameramen to now report about the dying livestock. Are we helping society? Are we? Kindly answer my question. Are we helping? We are not. But that information, we have it right now. We had it from August, that we are going into a depressed rainfall situation. So let us be very ready to look for this information. And if we can't interpret it, the climate scientists are some of the scientists that are always available to give us the interpretation. I know you're shaking your head because you've not interacted with them. I have interacted with them for more than 20 years. 20. Some of you are toddlers, others had not been born. But I've been with them for 20 years, and I know you approach them, they'll give you the answers. They'll help you to understand the situation. The other thing that the IGPAC is helping us in is when they release the seasonal forecast, they follow up with the monthly forecast, they follow up with the 10-day forecast. So you are updated all the time. So essentially what I'm saying is this. We should move away from our traditional way of looking for stories, where we thought that they will come looking for us. No, it has changed. We have to go looking for them for that information. And for us to be able to go looking for them for that information, we should be already very informed ourselves. Because the problem with scientists is that the moment you ask the first question and you seem not aware of what you want to talk about, they switch off immediately. So perhaps that is where the problem is. So do your research well, go out there, look for the story. Let's avoid the predictions, let us go by the forecast. Let us avoid the microwave approach and look for the story and keep at it until the end. And narrate, out of every statistical map, there is a face behind it. That face is either a face that has utilized the information properly and is able to produce enough, but there's also another face that is going through a problem of a lack of pasture for the animals or food in the home, and it's all about how we might have reported or misreported the information. So when you come with a story from the field, and now this for the reporters, and the editor is telling you, I think this forecast is like this. No, tell him, please, I'm the one who is from the field. I got this information from the scientist, and this is how the season is going to behave. Even if there's that sporadic rainfall that comes for 2 days and disappears, remember what the seasonal forecast said. And that's exactly what is happening this season. I thank you, Linda.
Thank you so much, Judith, for that. And I can assure you, 20 years, I was also a toddler. I didn't know anything about early warning or even reporting. I just grew taller with time. However, it's quite critical that us as journalists, we have to send ourselves, quote unquote. We have to take the initiative to get to these websites, get the data, get the information, and disseminate it. And Professor, you did mention something critical about digital awareness, creating digital awareness, even to the communities itself. And we have Absi Ahmed, who's actually doing a great work with Green Media Initiative. So maybe we'd love to know what it is that you're doing with the community there and what positive impact has happened during your tenure. Well, okay, in terms of training people. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Linda. Linda has been a good follower for the Green Media Initiative for the past 1.5 years. So thank you. Yeah, I think, is it on?
Yes, but you have to.
Yeah, and also Dr. Ahmed and Judith also know us very well. And but before that, I wanted to say something. Dana Walaju. That is good afternoon in Amharic, so good afternoon to you all. Thanks, brother, for helping me. And Linda also already said we should be very brief to our answers. She just gave us 2 minutes, so I want to exceed them 2 minutes. So I want to give you an assignment, a very short assignment. It is, you all do have internet and mobile phones. Please go to our Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, one of them, and please follow us. Also check what we are doing in there. Please, can you do that for me? Because if you do all follow us, we will get more than 200 followers at this time. A little shout out will do a great thing for us, and it will really and move forward. So thank you, and please do that. So, and I would like to start that Green Media is, we call and we say it is Somalia's first environmental media, and it is, yes, because the country never have had specialized in media for environment and climate issue before us. And it is dedicated to environmental and climate focused. I mean, we do focus this issue and also sustainability as a whole. We have been producing documentaries, short videos, articles. We do have website. You can just go to check www.gmi.so. We have been publishing articles on environment and climate issue, more in a basic way, because actually we are not experts. For example, me, I'm not expert like Linda and Judith. They have been doing really a good job in journalism and an environmental issue. But we are trying to fill a critical gap, which is the absence of environmental media in my country. And we really did. Always, when people see our page, they say, hey, you are really doing a great job. So about the impact, I think one of the most important things that we have done was youth activation. Youth activation and also environmental journalism activation in the country. Many young journalists who we have trained are now producing impactful stories on climate and environmental reporting, and some of them are working with us, the Green Media Initiative. Some others are helping the other media outlets who are, they usually focus more on political issue, but sometimes they may have environmental programs, so they are helping them. Another thing that we think we did something about it is behavior change at the community level. There is, for example, when we were just 2 or 3 months old, it was last year, one of the districts in Mogadishu, there was some authorities who cut a huge native tree. And there were some clips which have been filmed by citizen journalists or just ordinary people. They shared it with us, that video, when they were cutting the tree. It was really a huge tree, a native tree. And maybe I think it was 20 years old. Yeah, they cut it because they were constructing a road. They maybe could do something better because they could get a good space for the road. Then when we shared the video to the public, actually there has been a lot of youths who showed their anger and say this is impossible and we cannot take it. They demand accountability. And that led that the community, the district authority came to the media. They called us and say, hey, we are sorry that this happened and it won't happen again. And we are apologizing publicly to the community, and we will plant a new tree. And we told them to make it 2. Yeah, and they did. So I think after that, whenever some authorities try to cut a tree or to clear something, there are some citizen journalists who are ready for us to share those videos, and we, post it on public. And I think irresponsibility against the environmental protection have been declining recently because the authority and also the other community who may do the same, they know that the public won't be, they want to tolerate again for such actions. And actually that was a good one. And other thing, we give visibility to the local solutions. There have been some youth, women, community level climate action, environmental actions that have been happening or going well in the country. But actually those have been getting very few, there were almost no attention from the media because the other media are not interested for such stories. They just see like nothing. Women planted a tree, youth turning their spaces into more green area. That's like nothing for most of the media. But actually we have been trying to give a visibility to those people who are really doing well. So actually we also did something good about the accountability and transparency. If you check our social media, you can get some reports on fact-checking related to claims or environmental actions and climate action, which was not there. So thank you, and please do not forget to say that for me.
To follow.
Please don't forget to follow ABSI.
Thank you.
No, that is
It is Green Media Initiative. It is Green Media Initiative, GMI. Thank you very much. And we do have English subtitles, by the way, in case you are thinking about how we do follow Somali content. We always put English subtitles. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Maybe by the show of hands, how many journalists do we have in the room, kindly? By show of hands. How many have tweeted since morning about this event? And you can show proof. How many? Just 2. On Instagram? Oh, we have 2 more. When ABSI was speaking about visibility, this is one of the ways that we have the community to know. This is how dissemination works. If information doesn't reach out to the last mile, then we won't be working. We'll be just like, it's a normal day at the office, right? Yes, so thank you so much for those wonderful insights. And I hope you do follow Green Media Initiative on LinkedIn and on Twitter. I believe you're also on Twitter, yes? So I'm on you, Hinok. So you did receive an award this year, 2025. Could you please tell us more about it and how it has influenced youth in climate action?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Linda. So winning the IGAD Youth for Climate Action Award has been a powerful moment for me, not just personally, but for the youth I represent. The recognition validated the work we've been doing in community engagements, digital advocacy, and youth-led communication across the region. So it showed that young people's efforts are not invisible. Since receiving the award, I've been able to scale my impact in 3 key ways. The first one was visibility and credibility. It opened the door for me to join the COP13 fellowship program, and the second one was stronger advocacy. The award gave me a bigger platform to push for climate-sensitive policies, especially those that integrate use in early warning systems and disaster preparations. And the third one was youth mobilization. More young people are now reaching out to get involved. The recognition became a motivation not just for me, but for the others who want to lead climate action in their communities. So the award is not the end. It's a responsibility to amplify youth-driven climate solutions across the region. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm really sorry. So it's still about time. However, for the second round, we're not going to go through the second questions as we had planned. However, we're going to go through the parting shots, but with a little bit of the second round. Hopefully it's clear. So I'll begin with you, Dr. Ahmed. So how can we as media, the private sector, the NGOs, and academia amplify the regional voice of ICPAC and ensure that climate information is widely understood across different audiences? And by the way, I had one incident which I hope may be addressed. Often journalists are kicked out during some international meetings. I don't know if you know. When you're informing policy, maybe anything to do with early warning or disaster risk reduction, management, and all that, we become snitches. Let me just use one word, the word that was used. We become, as in we speak it before it's also passed out. How can we address such? Because I believe as a journalist, I do research before I inform. Before I do, I create visibility for it. How can we approach such? Thank you. Oh, I think.
Thank you very much. Just a parting shot. I think time is not in our side. Colleagues, as IGAD and as a region, we have moved forward. We have moved the needle very well, but the most important thing is now what we can do about the remaining tasks. For example, translating early warnings into early action. I can't imagine of this happening without a media, without professional journalism. I fully agree with the professor. Are we crisis reporters or warning reporters, anticipatory action reporters? For example, when ICPAC issue a drought warning, should we wait until animals die and report? I don't think so. We can alert communities to take measures that can substantially reduce the losses and damages. I think that is the most important to understand. That's why actually we engage media very seriously, to be honest, including IGAD efforts of this media award. We really would like to sensitize. Let me tell you one secret of IGAD. We are really working to transition this region from reactive, slow, response-oriented approaches to anticipatory approaches. In brief, what does anticipatory approaches means is, it is just three things, okay? It is just a predefined threshold, you know when to act, okay? Pre-identified actions and pre-arranged finance. Just three things. The warning, the action, and the pre-arranged finance, okay? You don't wait until the disaster strike in a panic and crisis mood, but rather you get it head on. The advantage of this is many, but at least it is a dignified way. No community would be happy to extend hands for aid, isn't it, colleagues? No community. So I think it's dignified as Africans, as IGAD region. It's also sustainable. It's much cheaper to act in advance than deal with a crisis. And the third one is also in terms of return on investment. I think it's much cheaper return on investment if you act based on a forecast than you wait until the disaster comes. Case in point is the drought we forecasted in August. Just a week ago actually, we issued another warning saying that the situation seems to be deteriorating. We are not still scaling it up to drought, but all indicators, as in SPI, as in all the technical things, you know, in the East African Drought Watch, all are indicating that situations are not getting well, at least until February next year. We'll be issuing another warning or another forecast as ICPAC in January. That would be very critical, colleagues. If the forecast comes out to be below normal, that's going to be a second failed season. that's most likely where animals start dying. So I think it's that serious, and journalism is actually one of the most important, let me put it that way, one of the most important pillars of the value chain. From generation to the last mile, I think you are the bridge, basically. The use is the energy to push these important messages down so that our communities can be protected. Thank you, Linda. Sorry, I think.
So thank you so much. So, Mr. Getachew, for your final parting shot, what opportunities do you see for a stronger ICPAC university collaboration, and in terms of also of skills, capacity building?
Yeah, thank you so much, Linda. Yeah, when crisis hits, it gets reported by almost every media outlet, including the Western media that are not normally interested in African issues, you know. So what matters, and I remember reading somewhere that are the 4 biggest stories that came out of Africa and got covered by the Western media, like in 100 years, all 4 of them are crisis stories. One of them being the drought that hit Ethiopia in 1984-85, apartheid and Rwanda genocide, and Nigeria, Biafra, civil disagreements and stuff. So, you know, so no wonder we report on crises after they happen. More important to our society, more meaningful to our people, more life-saving would be reporting before crisis hits. So early warning reports are very, very important. And yes, we may think that stories that are related to early warning may not sell, but it depends on how you present them. It depends on how they get presented. So if you are scratching where it itches, and then definitely people would respond. Let's make sure that we do that. And then let me tell you, like there was a UNESCO initiative that aimed at promoting excellence in journalism education in Africa. So they carried out a series of consultative meetings between 2022 and 2024. Consultations brought together over 100 journalism educators from all over Africa. 4 IGAD member states are represented: Ethiopia, Somalia, Kenya, Uganda. I know educators from these countries. They were in South Africa discussing the journalism education to be offered across the nation and then across the continent. The thing is, in most African nations, journalism curricula are borrowed from the Western nations. If you take my own country's case, for example, when we launched a master's program in journalism communication in 2004, it's a very recent thing, it was fully funded by a Western country, namely Norway. So you would definitely expect some interest, some Western interest to come with the financial support. But lately, there are efforts in de-Westernizing journalism education across the African nation. That's how they came to discuss, and then they came up different set of criteria to use as lanes and reinvestigate the nature of the curriculum of journalism education across Africa. And then they found out they came up with some 6 gaps, and one of them that needed to be filled was lack of environmental reporting. You see, the lack of environmental reporting. Environment matters to us. We're prone to climate change impacts, effects, but we are not responding enough. And then regarding the venues for collaboration between the academia and institutions like ICPAC? Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's good to hear that ICPAC is, and IGAD and other similar institutions are working very closely with the media and journalists, training them, equipping them with the necessary data information, also making databases available, trustworthy, credible information available. But tell me if I am wrong, but I don't see many of these institutions engaging the academia and academic institutions in a meaningful way. We are the ones educating the media. So the value chain, the chain system also includes the academia. And I see the importance of, in the future, including the researchers and academia. Ethiopia hosted in August a very large regional conference on media and communication. It was at Adwa Museum. And so we received about 200 plus articles, research reports from different countries, different African countries. I don't remember seeing very many topics dealing with climate and climate-related issues. So we need more and more research in the academic community as well. So not only the research institutions and these specialized institutions, but also the academic community need to produce knowledge that the media can use, okay? Can use to see themselves as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Professor, just so you know, someone on the crowd was really agreeing to what you were saying. It seems you hit the jackpot. Next, we go to Judith. Maybe as we finalize, we'd love to know how can we address these issues in climate reporting?
That's a wide area. Let me see how to condense it.
Yeah.
First of all, I think we need to now start looking at climate reporting as a form of solution journalism. Let us not only warn, let us also look for experts who can tell us the how to deal with the impending situation. And I'm sure as media, if we report on the crisis that is unfolding, and we get an expert who can tell us how to go about dealing with that particular situation, and we come up with this kind of story, I'm sure then we'll be building the issue about resilience of our communities. For example, and to buy into what Prof has just said, because we are the link between the two. If, say, Dr. Ahmed has produced his information about the impending drought, that is when it is declared. Right now, it is just the dry spell. If we came up with that story, I'm sure if it's a planting season in some area, a researcher somewhere who works in seed development should be looking in the direction of developing seeds that can actually mature faster, isn't it? Using the little moisture that we have. So if we go the solution journalism direction, we'll be helping to solve some of the challenges that we are facing in society. On the issue of training of journalists, we know very well that when Mount Sinai couldn't go where Moses was, Moses decided to go to the mountain, isn't it? So what do? We start looking for that knowledge, however expensive it is. I can't lie to you. Right now, I'm paying a lot of money at the University of Nairobi, but I'm chasing that knowledge. So my encouragement to you, and especially the young journalists, let us look that direction. Let us not end at studying journalism. Let us look at how else can I ensure that I enrich my knowledge to be able to be of more use to society by giving them information that is useful than reporting about the politician and what he has said about the other politician. I close on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. So, Absi, please give us your parting shot, kindly.
Yeah, actually, I just want to say one of the problems that we have in Somalia is that most of our communities are not really aware of what is happening. The drought is and the impact of the climate change. Let me give you one example from a village in short, please. I'm from a very small district in northern Somalia, or in northeast Somalia. I'm not mentioning because there's some Somalis here. I'm not mentioning the name. And we are from there. And back in 20 years ago, I do remember that the family had more than 10 horses. Or just my father had 10 horses. And just in very few years, all of them are gone. And not only our family, all the family in that area, actually, that area, there have been a lot of horses. It is famous for horses and also camels. And not only that, our family also, I mean, my father's family, lost almost, I can say, 90% of our camels. I don't know where they are. They're all gone. And most of the family are now living in urban areas like Mogadishu and Hargeisa and these areas. So the climate change has been affected. It affected our family, just simple, I can say that. And I asked my brother, one of my brothers, what happened to our camels and horses? He said, I don't know. Yeah? And it is true that he doesn't know that, but they are all gone. And there was also one time I was in Beledweyne. Dr. Ahmed knows Beledweyne very well. It is one of the it is usually affected by floods each year. Then I asked a farmer who was walking on the river. I asked him, do you know about the climate change? I asked that question in Somali. In Somali, we say, isbeddelka cimilada. He said, what is isbeddelka cimilada? Yeah. What are you talking about? He doesn't know that. By the way, these floods have been affecting his family for a long time. At that time, he was getting ready to evacuate his family because there was some, alerts about floods coming. Yeah, so the community are not aware and they doesn't know about what's happening. So, and also, as a media, we are trying to make them informed and give them some information. But actually, there's also a challenge that we are facing because most of the journalists, I don't know where, thank you, but I think there's a limited access to verified climate data, and it is most of them, it is written in English, and Somalia is not an English-speaking country, so that's another problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmed. Hinok, as we finalize the panel session for today, and I'm really sorry for hurrying you up.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
So,
yes, please. Hinok, you can go ahead.
To make my final message simple, the climate crisis is no longer a distant future. It's our present reality, but so is the power of the youth. Across the IGAD region, youth are already building solutions using technology, creativity, and community actions. What we need is not more inspirations. We need inclusion within institutions. When institutions trust young people, invest in them, and give them the space. Our decision-making tables, early warning systems improve, climate literacy grows, and our commitment becomes more resilient. So I would say that youth are not beneficiaries, we are partners as well. And if you want a climate-secure future, that partnerships must start today. Thank you.
Okay, Sawa. So, sorry. Thank you so much. You have been a great panel. I am really sorry that time was not on our side. However, I believe the audience has gotten a lot of valuable information. Just so you know, key things, get to know what ICPAC does, as Dr. Ahmed said. Get to their website, send yourselves, okay? Professor did mention something about crafting African narratives. We don't need people from the West to tell us who or what Africa is. it begins with me and you, okay? So let us support each other. Let us have this symbiotic relationship because you need me and I need you. So it's not about who is above and below, because when it comes to saving lives and livelihoods, then this is the time that we really need to support each other. Thank you. So we are done for now until further notice, but I'd like to request for a group photo as we leave. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Linda and panelists. As they are taking the group photo, I'll humbly request all our 2025 nominees and our invited journalists and influencers. We have a one-hour trip sponsored by the government. Outside, we have buses that will be waiting to take you to the relevant places. I see Ambassador is there, so perhaps just follow the Ambassador's lead. Jama, please direct them. 2025 nominees and the journalists and influencers that were invited. Otherwise, thank you very much. It's been a wonderful 2 panel sessions. I believe we've learned a lot, and see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. for the 2 last panel sessions. Thank you and bye-bye.